Greetings, one and all. It is me, Mark Anthony Kopernicki, coming at you live from the den room, the recording den room of, of the RWO mini recording studio in my home. So, anyways, figured, long story short, I'm going to start this little segment which I kind of mentioned to you guys last time, which I'm going to talk to you about various things of interest. One thing that I've been getting asked a lot, well, throughout the years and through email and questions online and stuff like that from various fans and people are, the usual stuff, gear, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that people have asked me a lot is what are my influences and the stuff that have gotten me, interested in playing music and so on and so forth. So I figured I'd make a little segment here that I'll do mainly out of fun, because I do enjoy doing these kinds of things, especially, is talking a little bit about some of the bands and the records specifically that have made me want to get up and pick up that guitar and start writing songs, or just starting to play guitar, or just play guitar in general. So, this will be my little, what I will dub, influential albums. So, this will be Influential Album Episode 1. And let's start it off with a record that is very near and dear to my heart, and one that has brought me many hours of listening pleasure, and that would be this little gem right here. Now, for those of you who can't make out what that is, put it right there. This is the 1972 prog masterpiece, Yes, Fragile. So, where to start with this album? I guess I can say in a nutshell that this album has, I'm sure, inspired many people throughout the years, not only just from a guitar perspective, but I guess from a band perspective, a songwriting perspective, even for other individual instruments, whether it's drumming, bass playing, keyboards, singing, I mean, you name it. This band has been blessed to have many great musicians in the band, and during this lineup of this album, I guess would have been the most popular and probably the best technical band that Yes had, which was John Anderson, obviously, on vocals, Chris Squire on bass, Steve Howe on guitar, Rick Wakeman on keys, and I'm missing somebody. Who did I miss now? Bill Bruford, John Anderson, Chris Squire, Steve. No, I got them all five. Yeah, that's right. So in any case, I guess if I look through the lineup of the songs here, one of the things that I kind of found very interesting, I'll just kind of put that up there so you can see what's actually on there. I don't know if you can really make that out or not. One day, folks, I'll get this figured out properly. But anyways, there's 9 songs on there. The thing that I'm very jealous about, I guess, from a band perspective of this album, is the time period that this record was made. They did something that I don't think I've ever seen a band do, or if they did do it, I don't think they can get away with it nowadays. Is of the 9 songs, there are 4 actual full-length songs on here, and there are 5 pieces, one for each band member, in which they actually did their own little solo piece. Obviously, the big song off this album would be the first opening song, which is Roundabout. I'm going to just take this out of here and just show you a little bit more of this while I can. So just to give you a better idea of this fine little record here, as you can see there. But yeah, the big hit off this album was Roundabout, and there's another couple of songs that are huge in the fan circles, which is Long Distance Runaround and Heart of the Sunrise, which are definitely big, songs for them that are still played in concert today, 30, 40 years later. But like I said, back to this thing that I find very cool about this, and what I wish bands could do nowadays is that, like I said, there's 5 separate little pieces of music that were done by each member. For example, the second song, Cans and Brahms, is actually just a keyboard solo by Rick Wakeman, in which he took a Brahms piece, a classical piece, and took the separate orchestra pieces and assigned different keyboards for each piece. So he like maybe used a mini moog to represent the I don't know, the horns. Maybe he used the Hammond organ to do the string section, and just, you know what I mean, piano for what would have been, you know, some of the other sections of the orchestra. He just assigned different keyboards for different sections of the orchestra. So it kind of turned out to be an interesting piece. 5% for Nothing is actually a rather odd piece that the drummer made up of, which is just sort of a really weird drum pattern, which was repeated which was done 16 bars worth and then just repeated twice, with the band members just, you know, fiddling little music on top of it, which was sort of odd. It's just a short piece. It's under a minute, if I'm not mistaken. We have Heaven is the vocal piece done by John Anderson, which is just a big symphony of vocal overdubs of which he did this melody and just built on it to turn it into this whole kind of angelic piece. Then we have The Fish, which is actually probably one of the most popular pieces in general in Yes fandom, which is Chris Squire's bass piece, which in most Yes concerts actually comprises of his bass solo. So yeah, it's quite the bass extravaganza. Every bass player that I know of knows of this piece, and, you know, speaks pretty well of it from what I normally hear. And of course we have then Steve Howe's piece, Mood for a Day, which is your standard classical guitar fare, in which he, you know, 2 minutes of classical guitar goodness, which most guitar players, including myself, have learned throughout the years, and it's a great little piece to learn. I highly recommend it, especially if you're into that kind of finger picking style with a classical playing. It's challenging, and it's a great little piece. On this version here that I got, this is the re-release of the album, and on the back you'll notice that there's 2 bonus tracks. One is just a rough mix of Roundabout, and before that is a cover that they did of a Paul Simon tune, America. And that was a single that they released for this album during that time that wasn't on the original release. And speaking of the original release, just to show you, and I know what I'm talking about, here's the actual album, the 1972 version. Yes, it's old, and as you can see, the gatefold of it, and there is no America on this album. And so I have to say, this is definitely one of those records where, you know, that old question, if you were stuck on a desert island and could take 5 records with you, which ones would it be? This one would definitely be on the list. A record I would never get sick of listening to. Another little bit of information: the artwork, don't worry people, I'll get this figured out one day, there you go, was done by an artist named Roger Dean, who's pretty popular in artist circles, especially album art circles. And this is actually the first album that he did graphic artwork for, and from there on in, he's pretty much did, I think, pretty much all the popular Yes records he's done all the covers for, and continues to do other covers for other people like Asia and other prog bands, some of them that are slipping my mind right now, but he's done quite the extensive work. So as far as being influential on me, I can't even list the number of ways that it's been influential in terms of thinking of song structure and not being afraid to go out and stretch out a bit on songs. I mean, if you think about it, Roundabout is 9 minutes long. South Side of the Sky is like 8 minutes long. Long Distance Runaround is 3.5, which is the shorter one. Heart of the Sunrise is like 10.5, almost 11 minutes long. So it kind of made me, at that point when I was young and influential, kind of realize that it's cool to be able to write songs. You don't have to make them 3 minutes or 4 minutes. You know, if your thoughts and creativity go that way, you can write an 11-minute song and not feel guilty about it. You know, and just to end this off, I'll leave you with a little story about how I actually discovered this album when I was about, I'm guessing about 11 or 12 years old. As is in most European families, we were going out on the usual weekend family excursion where we met up with other friends of the family. And I remember taking a drive out to, I believe it was Milton at that time, very early on when Milton was still a small little town. And we met up with a friend of the family's, and I remember my father's friend had quite the vinyl collection, and I was just getting into listening to music at that point. I just discovered the guitar and started to fiddle faddle with it, and I had started to listen to various albums, and I saw this album. I'll never forget. I went into the living room where the other stereo, and I saw this Yes album in his collection. And the album cover itself was the first thing that kind of caught me, and I was like, this is interesting, because I had heard already at that point 90125, I believe it is, from Yes. When I was at the library, they had this little section where you can go and listen to albums, and you just give it to the librarian, and they pump it through their turntable, and you sit at these little chairs and put the headphones and listen to it. So I was already, aware of Yes. So when I put this on, I'll never forget sitting down in this chair, and instead of headphones, he told me that it was fine for me to just sit there and listen to it, decently loud on his sound system that he had, which is a pretty decent sounding one. And I'll never forget hearing Roundabout when it first came on, and thought to myself, wow, this is really, really different. And just sitting down in amazement and listening to this album, at 11 years old. And at first I have to admit, some of it didn't really register. Like some of the solo pieces, so it seemed kind of odd, like the whole keyboard part and stuff like that. But the songs itself I thought were fantastic and really caught on to me right away. And throughout the years, as I've gotten as time's gone by and gotten older and more experience as a musician and so on and so forth, I've really grown to appreciate the record as a whole. Yes, the way it's laid out and all the pieces now, and the creativity that it took, and just the great playing of everybody on the record. And I guess, long story short, I guess most bands should try to strive for that kind of perfection in songwriting and performance, and it's definitely something that I try to do myself with everything that I do from here on in, for sure. So that's that for this first edition. Again, the record that we just talked about is Yes, Fragile, and I'm sure I'll do my next influential album soon enough. And just to close off, I'm sure we'll be hitting you soon with another Reckon with One update. That's my band, in case you haven't seen my prior video clips. And if this is your first introduction to me, then as I said, I'm Mark, and I play guitar for Reckon with One. And check out our site. It'll be youtube.com/reckonwith1 if you want to check out the rest of the videos and check out some songs that are on our channel. And also you can go to facebook.com/reckonwith1 and check out our page there, and like yourself on there, like most other people have already. And keep in touch, and I'll leave that for now, and I guess I'll see you next time with my next influential record. And I will leave you with this: a world without music would be a very dull place indeed. See you next time.